Jim Allister. Mr. Allister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm in this House unashamedly and unapologetically as a unionist. And therefore, when I read the 7th document from Haass, I have no apology for asking the question, what's in this document for unionism? And sadly, I find nothing effectively for unionism. I consider the issue of the national flag. This document does nothing to restore the Union flag to its rightful place on Belfast City Hall. It does nothing to give it more prominent display on this building. So on flags, it delivers nothing for unionism. On the past, this is a document which fails to even grapple with one of the most obscene, objectionable matters that touch upon the past, the definition of a victim. It does not at all address the issue of the equivalence which exists between the victim maker and the victim. And in that, it is a gross betrayal of innocent victims. And I do think that anyone supportive of innocent victims should have, within that process, made that the beginning and the end in terms of the test of whether or not there was anything attainable. Because that has been a scourge in this society, which has been used by the victim makers to validate themselves and to provide equivalence with those they made victims. Then I come to this document and I look to how it will deal with terrorism. And I find, and I'm still waiting for Mr. Little to put me right, I find it has nothing to say about the fact that for 30 years and more, this province was subjected to an unwarranted, vile campaign of terrorism. Instead, it sanitises it down to the conflict. It talks about actors. Mr. Speaker, it was no actor that firebombed the Le Mans Hotel. It was no actor that took 10 innocent workmen out of a van at King's Mills and slaughtered them in cold blood. It was no actor that planted the bomb in Enniskillen. It was no actor that went into the public house in Greysteel. They were terrorists, one and all. Anyone who fails to address that fundamental, foundational issue in dealing with the past is making no serious effort to deal with it. And on that, these proposals hopelessly flounder. And then you move within that to discover that innocent victims are meant to be exhilarated and encouraged by the fact that they might get some sanitized, self-serving version of Provo truth or UFF truth about why their innocent victims, why their innocent relatives died. It can even be anonymous. It's certainly untestable. That, Mr. Speaker, is itself an insult to innocent victims who suffered so much at the hands of terrorists. Yes?
Would the member acknowledge that there are innocent victims in Northern Ireland who have lobbied, asked and requested for the very such process that he has just so fundamentally objected to?
If there are innocent victims who want to be satisfied with a self-serving Provo version of the truth that they cannot test, that will raise more questions than have been answered, that might even come from an anonymous source, then that's a matter for those victims. But I must say I don't know too many of them. The innocent victims I know crave justice. And justice is someone being held accountable for the villainy that was visited upon them and their family. Not hearing some self-serving story, which is part of the rewrite of history of perpetrators of terrorism. That is the vehicle that these Haass proposals offers. In the diminution, of course, as an alternative to the proper pursuit of justice. On parading, no, I've given way. On parading, it opens up a whole new vista where anyone, anywhere, can object to any parade, anywhere, and then require the parade organisers to subject themselves to negotiation with that individual. We're meant to think that's progress? Mr. Speaker, like everything else that seems to be within these proposals, that is not progress, and that is not an advance. What these proposals represent, and this is why Sinn Féin are so enthusiastic for them, it's another opportunity to pocket what they see as some advance until the concession meter next needs to be fed, and then they'll be out demanding more.